Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Franchise Hockey Manager 9 playthrough of the Chicago Blackhawks. We are about to begin the 2025 postseason. The defending champion Blackhawks, who won I don't want to say shocking, but certainly a surprising title last season, ended up just edging into the playoffs. The eighth seed out in the Western Conference got in by virtue of a 6-2 victory yesterday over the San Jose Sharks, the worst team in the entire Western Conference. Without that victory, we would not have gotten in. So pleased that the team is going to be in the playoffs. Obviously, as the defending champions, would be hoping that we would be better than an eighth seed in the conference, fourth seed for purposes of the playoffs. But we are in the tournament. It has definitely been a more challenging season for the Blackhawks this year. We have really good defense, pretty good goaltending. Our offense has really honestly been the issue. When you look at the standings in the Western Conference, you can see that the 256 goals we scored was only better than two of the playoff teams, while the 236 goals we allowed were better than all but three teams in the conference. So we are more of a defensive and goaltending-oriented team. And unfortunately for us, as the playoffs begin, this team that is light on offense anyways is going to be losing our leading goal scorer. Dylan Larkin broke a bone in his elbow just days ago, literally right at the end of the year, the 81st game of the season. So he finishes with a great 53 goals and 26 assists, but if you can do some simple math, he generated more than 20% of our scoring this year. So the loss of Larkin is definitely going to leave a big mark in our lineup. We're hoping that we will have Luke Kunin and Ross Colton back for the playoffs, neither a huge goal scorer. Colin White is out indefinitely, and Philip Hronik will only be back if we happen to go on a very long playoff run, similar to what happened last season. So we are in the tournament. That's all we can ask for, but with the injury to Larkin right before the end of the season, definitely feeling less optimistic about our opportunity to go on a long run similar to the one that we did last year. And with the regular season now over, the finalists for the big awards have been announced. Similar to last year, the only nominee we have is Patrick Kane for the Lady Byng. He did not win it last year. We'll see whether he can add some hardware this season. There were no All-Stars for the defending champion Blackhawks this season, despite that 53-goal year that I mentioned for Larkin. So definitely with no All-Stars and only one award nominee, still not a team that's getting a ton of love and respect around the league. So maybe we will use that to put a little bit of a chip on our shoulder as these playoffs are about to get underway. And as we prepare to head to Colorado for the first game of the series, Luke Kunin is back, which is good. Ross Colton not quite ready, so we will have Kunin back for game one of the series, but Colton will definitely miss the first game. Hopefully we'll have him back for game two, but a little healthier than we thought we'd be with Kunin back now, which is good. Absolutely are going to need him to be a bigger contributor in the playoffs in terms of the offense than he was during the regular season. Going to disagree with a couple of the assistant coach's recommendations, but I don't know if I love playing Madden over Holloway. think I'm going to go with Holloway. So the youngster Gavin Hayes, the youngster Tyler Madden, and the youngster Adam Wilsby are our three scratches as we get ready to begin defense of our title. We are definitely the underdogs at this point, heading to Colorado for Game 1 and a 2-1 loss. So off to a slow start. Looks like we did score a goal in the first period. Paul Cotter is first of the playoffs, obviously. Nice to see Kunin on the assist, but not a lot of offense after that. Only got 15 shots on goal, so did not put a lot of pressure on their goalie. Blackwood saved 21 of 23, but as we talked about, offense is going to be what can potentially be the issue for this team. And we will have Ross Colton back, so that's good, although since it, of course, happens on the day that we're playing a game, he's going to not be as fit as we would like. 80% fitness for him. We will send down... I'm not sure if we can send down Madden now since... Yeah, we've got to keep him on the team even in the playoffs. So we will send down the youngster Gavin Hayes. And we will not play Colton today, although we'd love to get him back in the lineup. But at 80% fitness, we'll try to hopefully get through this game, steal one in Colorado, and go home with a 1-1 score in the series. And with the way these injuries look, as I mentioned, maybe we get Hronek back if we win a couple of series. Larkin, I guess it's progress that he's no longer out indefinitely, but with that 3 to 4 month injury, we'll be content when he is healthy and hopefully 100% for a training camp next year. But obviously a huge loss to not have our by far leading goal scorer for the playoffs. So not a lot of changes to the lines. Can we steal game 2 of the series? Another 3-1 loss. So as I talked about, allowing 5 goals in 2 games on the road, the defense and goaltending has not been a huge problem, but the offense continues to struggle to generate much at all. Got a third period goal from Quinn Hughes, assists by the captain and Erasmus Anderson. Blackwood saved 30 of 33 shots. He's pretty much doing his job. We're just not generating much offense, which particularly on the road has been a problem for this Blackhawks team throughout this season. So game 3 at home, we will get Colton into the lineup now, going to sit Cotter despite the fact that he did have that big goal for us in game 1. Jones has been pretty poor defensively all season, so we're going to give the youngster Wilsby a start, try to shake things up a little bit. Blackwood back in goal for game 3. Not a must-win, but pretty close to a must-win for the Blackhawks. And we do get a 3-2 victory, so nice to get one at home. Sebastian Aho, big game for him in the playoffs. We had thought about bringing him on board as a free agent last year. We could have barely done it after we traded away Seth Jones and did make an offer to him. Looks like he did not react well to the move to Anaheim with just 17 goals and 40 assists in 61 games. So looks like he was probably banged up a bit with an injury, -8 on the year. Certainly not the excellent goal scoring that we had seen from him in previous seasons. So perhaps we dodged a bullet there, although given how difficult it's been for us to generate offense this year, hard to imagine that we wouldn't be better off with Sebastian Aho on the roster. Taking a look at the 3-2 win, the captain got us started off. Jason Dickinson with the second goal for us. And then in overtime, Gustav Forsling assisted by Bono's assists. Blackwood saved 27 of 29. We finally got some offense going with 35 shots on goal. So hopefully can keep that momentum going in Game 4 of the series and get things knotted up before we head back to Colorado. Assuming everyone is fit and healthy, going to run with the same lineup that we just got a W from. Taylor Radish is generally a guy who doesn't have the best stamina in the world. Respectable, but he is a guy who we do find ourselves needing to sub out from time to time when we're playing a lot of games consistently. But at 89%, going to keep him in over Cotter. So we're going to run out the exact same team as before. See if we can get another W. We do not. A 6-5 loss, so the season is on the brink as we head to Colorado. And Connor Murphy out for at least 7 weeks with a fractured elbow. So that will be a hit to our blue line. Mikko Rantanen hat trick against us in the loss at home, which could unfortunately end up being the final game of the season at the United Center for the Blackhawks. We'll send our assistant captain to the injury list, and we may have a youngster making his debut in the playoffs. I think Kevin Korchinski is kind of the next man up on the defense. Started the youngster in the ECHL, moved him up to the AHL. You can see he played 39 games there. Definitely the strongest defender we have who is not on the NHL roster. So Korchinski is going to make his NHL debut here, potentially in Game 5. Not sure whether he will end up starting or not, but he is going to be part of the roster for us as these banged-up Blackhawks try to finally get a W in Colorado and send the series back home to Chicago. Taking a look at the roster, Korchinski's got great potential. I do have a hard time starting him over an experienced stay-at-home defender like Caleb Jones, though. So for now, he's just going to be on the roster. Other than that, everyone's relatively fit, so going to keep Madden and Cotter as our healthy scratches. Can we keep the season alive? We cannot. A 2-1 loss. Philip Hronik is finally ready to resume skating, so that is positive for next year. But not unexpectedly struggled to score goals throughout the playoffs. We did take a 1-0 lead with Forsling, let up a goal in the third period, and then in overtime, Nathan McKinnon gets the series clincher for the Avalanche. So we did have 29 shots on goal compared to 19 for the Avalanche. So we were generating a bit of offense, but could not get it by the goaltender. And a early exit for the Chicago Blackhawks, and our defense of the Stanley Cup is over. There will be a new champion in 2025. So turning to the top performers from our season, obviously our number one goal scorer and our number one point producer, Dylan Larkin, is on the injured list as we talked about. The captain, Patrick Kane, 74 points in 75 games at the age of 36, a good solid season. Victor Arvidsson, 31 goals and 30 assists for us. He is one of our best offensive players. We've always been thinking he's getting a little older, and he makes a good amount of money should we move on from him, but particularly with the struggles we've had generating offense this past season, hard to imagine we're not going to want him back. Gustav Forsling with a pretty good year as a center, or as a defender, plus 15, 58 points. Quinn Hughes, the big acquisition, really nice season also, plus 16 with 55 points as a defender. Dvorak is a guy we picked up right before the trade deadline from Montreal. You can see he was better with us than he was with Montreal, but was not exceptional. He will be a free agent. Alex Formenton, I believe, is also headed to free agency. He'll be a tougher decision for us as a young player. We could conceivably look to bring him back. See exactly what he's looking for now. Looking for $4.4 million a year. Don't know that we'll be able to afford that, but we'll at least put the auto qualify on him. Taylor Radish, pretty versatile forward for us. Not the most exceptional scorer in the world, but still was plus 9 on the season. Kunin was, by all measures, a disappointment. Weren't expecting him to be lights out as far as his offensive production. But the fact that he was -1 on the year for us is definitely disappointing for a player that we are spending almost $6 million a year on. Do like the fact that he's a pretty versatile forward, but it just did not work out the way that we had hoped this year. Regula, probably going to be an important defenseman for us again next year. Ross Colton, similar to Kunin for the amount of money we're paying him and the fact that he's a veteran, not the most dynamic season. Dylan Holloway, guy we picked up off of waivers from the Bruins, had a respectable season for us given what we're paying him. Rasmus Anderson was plus 12 on the year. Not a ton of offensive production, but a good, solid, versatile defenseman for us. Curtis Lazar, we traded for at the trade deadline, was reasonably productive with 4 goals in 12 games. I think his contract is also up. Yep. So he will be a free agent also. Jason Dickinson really has dropped off over the last couple years. More of a stay-at-home defenseman, but 2 goals in 7... not a stay-at-home defenseman, but a defensive forward. But 2 goals from a defensive forward is pretty pathetic production for a player who played 79 games. You can see his shooting percentage was just 3.4. Don't know if that's just bad luck or just a lack of skill on the offensive side. Probably a little bit of both. Tyler Madden is a guy that we picked up, I believe, through waivers. Final year of his contract. Probably will not be back. Bo Horvat, big injury issues this year. The 13 goals in 39 games, kind of happy with. The fact that he only had 5 assists, though, was definitely disappointing. Hopefully, with some better health next season, we'll get more production out of him. Certainly would be expecting more. Mackenzie Entwistle, kind of a fourth-line forward for us. Willsby, the young defenseman who we picked up in a trade. I think he still has 1 year left on the contract, so he could conceivably be back as a 6th or 7th defenseman for us next year. Caleb Jones, plus 10 on the year, but only 10 points in 67 games. He is more of a stay-at-home defenseman, but just didn't feel like it was a great season from him. Korchinski, we talked about, probably will play a bigger role for us next year. Didn't actually get into that last game. And then Skarek ended up 8-3-6 for us with a sub 3 goals against and a .914 save percentage. Not bad for a young goalie that we did pick up off of the waiver wire. He is headed to potential free agency. I believe we've already made a qualifying offer. Now I'm changing the lingo. I believe we've auto-qualified him. Looking for 1.6 million a year. Think that probably will make sense to bring him back at that level. And then Mackenzie Blackwood had a better goals against average and a higher save percentage than he did the year before, but he won 9 fewer games in large part due to the fact that our offense was just not incredibly productive. So going to have to figure out a way to generate more offense with this team next season. The challenge in that is that heading into the off season, we've got salary commitments of about $79 million, and we've got a couple of holes to fill next season. So no obvious path for us to bring on a lot of talent. So we're going to have some interesting decisions to make this off season. Formenton, can't afford to bring him back unless we make some other moves, given that he's looking for over $4 million. We're pretty solid on the blue line. I think the big question for us is, could the $4.4 million that we're spending on Connor Murphy next year in his final year at the age of 32, coming off a fractured elbow, could we maybe move some of that money into our front line? So he would be an obvious one to move on from. Caleb Jones, potentially not going to free up as much cash, but another guy to potentially move on from, because we do have the opportunity to add Korchinski to the team next year. So we've got plenty of blue liners. Going to have to figure out the backup goalie situation. So a lot of work to do, but the good news is we have made the playoffs twice in a row, and our objective for the offseason is pretty clear. We've got to improve our offense. And similar to last season when our Blackhawks won it all, some upsets in the playoffs. You can see Winnipeg took out the Colorado team that beat us. Vegas lost in the first round to Anaheim. The Rangers took out the Devils in the first round, and Tampa Bay took out Florida in the first round. So looking at the final 4 teams, we've got Anaheim at Winnipeg in the West, and the Rangers at Toronto in the East. And Toronto's championship drought will continue for at least another season, as similar to last year, upsets along the way, and we have the 4th-seeded Ducks against the 4th-seeded Rangers. Taking a look at the season standings, the Ducks had 95 points, were the first wild card. We were the second wild card. And the Rangers also had 95 points, and they were similar to us. They were the second wild card and the lowest seeded team in all of the Eastern Conference. So it will be a second consecutive surprising champion when the Ducks or the Rangers are raising Lord Stanley's Cup over the next week and a half. And some good news, the Blackhawks renewed our contract. Can't say that was a shock with 2 playoff appearances and a world championship in our first 3 seasons, but certainly fan happiness is not where it was at the end of last year. I'll take a look at how long they extended us for. Actually, that would be probably easier to just see at our staff page. $1.87 million for 3 years, so they gave us a nice little bump in pay, and I guess it's called a 3-year extension, but you can see it expires in 2027. So since it went through right now, really only a 2-year extension since we're almost near the end of this season, but still happy to get a raise and happy to continue to try to build these Blackhawks up. We've got a lot of young players with pretty good potential who, with the exception of Korchinski, are probably not quite ready for the NHL, but a lot of guys who could, if they continue to develop, turn into pretty useful players. And then we still have a good number of players that we're going to have to spend some time on figuring out who we want to bring on board. Have to decide on several players in the not so distant future. Luke Coughlin and Matteo Rotundi, who we both picked in the first round of our first draft in 2023, with the 16th pick for Coughlin and the 20th pick for Rotundi, I believe. Both seem, I believe, that they are going to be aging out of juniors at this point, so we'll likely be bringing both of those gentlemen into the fold with our team. Frank Nazar, another guy that we'll need to figure out what to do with. I think he could still play at Michigan for another year, potentially. I'm pretty sure he's only been there 3 years. But coming off of a pretty good season, 21 goals, 23 assists in 44 games, maybe time to bring him up. Certainly looks like he could potentially be a player that would give us some of the offense that we are missing on the front line next year, and also be able to do it at a pretty reasonable rate. Villeneuve is another guy who may be done. Feel like this was really a good pick for us. Picked him at the end of the second round last year, and you can see he really exploded in the OHL this year with 103 points in 58 games. He is, I guess he's not 20 until next April, so I think he could spend another year down there. But he certainly also looks like someone who could provide us with some instant offense. You know, his mental ratings are not great at this point, but if you look at his physical skills, his defensive skills, and particularly his offensive skills, he could be a pretty impactful player for us, perhaps next year. So we're going to have some interesting decisions to make as we get into the off season in our next episode. But at this point, need to find out who the new champion is going to be, and the Ducks are up 3-2 on the Rangers right now. Rangers with a 2-1 victory, so we're going to a Game 5 to determine whether Anaheim or the New York Rangers will be the world champions. And Anaheim keeps the Stanley Cup out west with a victory over the Rangers. And as harsh as I was on Sebastian Aho's performance his first year in Anaheim, we did not bring him on board, and although his offensive production was not what it had been in the past, he is hoisting the Stanley Cup this year. So congratulations to him and the Ducks on a well-deserved championship for a team that was just ahead of us in the standings this past year. And with that, we will conclude this episode. It's only June 10th, so in our next episode, we will check out the big award winners, start making some decisions on which players that we have rights to and have drafted in the past that we would like to sign to entry-level contracts and potentially bring on to our team. Also have some decisions to make on the players who are in the final year of their contract with us right now, and need to figure out if there's anybody that we're going to want to trade away to open up some salary cap room. So it's going to be another very eventful off-season for the Blackhawks. Unfortunately, we will no longer be champions, but that just gives us more incentive to try to do better next year and see if we can get one for the thumb as far as titles for Patrick Kane. See if we can get him a 5th championship before he retires. And we will talk about our general manager type plans to help get him that championship in our next episode. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.